Hello, Luminary. It is Leslie Tagorda with an episode all about our lunar eclipse in Scorpio later this week. And you know what? This is a big one. And we get to have this eclipse so that we can finally let go and release fear once and for all. Welcome to Star Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be. Hello, luminaries. Welcome back to another episode of Star Powered Podcast. And today I want to talk all about this full moon lunar eclipse that we have going on in Scorpio that happens on May 5th at 10:34 a.m. Pacific, 1:34 p.m. Eastern. And oh my goodness, normally I don't really get how do I want to say this without sounding like cocky? This is this how do I like what I want to say is we have a powerful eclipse coming up and I am not afraid. There's so many things in this world that I am afraid of, but eclipses are not one of those things. I love working with the power of eclipses. I love working intentionally with the power of retrogrades because it really, if we can really look at it as that and look forward to them in terms of we get to, or we get to work with this power within us instead of feeling controlled and disempowered by them, that we can really flip the script and get under what we need to release in these terms of an eclipse. Okay, I know I got way ahead of myself. I have this habit of like throwing my clients into the deep end just because I want to go straight there. I just want to go straight to that deep things, all the things that we hold on inside of us that really hold us back. And so we had our new moon eclipse at that last degree of Aries that I shared with you a couple of weeks ago, was really asking us to bet on ourselves, to jump into the unknown, and to become the best versions of ourselves. And then we're still in Mercury retrograde that's really recalibrating our mindset so that we can recognize, again, recognize when we're operating from this idea of scarcity. And Mercury and Taurus, we like to hold on to things. And Scorpio, being the opposite of Taurus on the astrological axes, if Taurus likes to hold on to things, Scorpio likes to hold on to emotional baggage. Now, no judgments, right? We all have these energies within us. And that's why the cosmos really works with us in these cycles to be like, hey, Leslie, it's time to let go of your emotional baggage. It's time to let go of all of those dark, icky shames and fears that still hold us back and let those things go. Now, when we're thinking about Scorpio emotional baggage, we're talking around things like fear, taboo, shame, guilt, grief. Oh my goodness. All of those dark emotions that, in good company, we don't talk about those things. And you know what? I'm great company. I want to talk about those things. Let's go deep. It's been really interesting to witness so many friends and clients have these, what I want to say, like near death experiences, whether this be like literal death or figurative death, where we are coming face to face with something that have the potential to lose, and what that brings up in terms of grief, and reminding my clients and myself that when we come face to face with something that we are almost going to lose, that it really brings us face to face with the things that we really love and want to keep. And so this eclipse, we really, really need it. So today I want to talk about how to intentionally work with this how do you say this? Penumbral how to work intentionally with this full moon penumbral lunar eclipse, i.e., the red moon in Scorpio. And I'm going to give us kind of 6 things to do in our lives to release, to eliminate, to create this kind of purge, this emotional cleansing within us that's going to feel so great, so that we can walk out of this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, so that we can walk out of this Scorpio eclipse season, really being able to face our fears. I'm going to give you the exact steps to face your fears so that you can move through them instead of running away from them and bypassing them. Because you know what? Fear doesn't go away, but when we face our fears, we can then really turn them into something alchemical and something really golden. So before I get into all of the details about this powerful Scorpio eclipse that we have coming, I wanted to let you know that when we have our next eclipse season in 6 months, I'm going to be hosting my very first retreat in Calistoga, California, at one of my most favorite places, a little slice of heaven. And so I'll be hosting a retreat right on our Scorpio new moon eclipse, so our solar eclipse, which we'll be able to see from Calistoga, California, which is north of San Francisco in wine country. So our retreat is going to revolve around the power, the authentic power of regeneration, and our authentic, deepest, most Scorpio authenticity in our lives, in our work, and in our businesses. So if you're interested in joining me on a restorative, regenerative, and revolutionary retreat in this little slice of earth, heaven on earth, head on over to starpower.com/eclipse and get on that wait list. I'll be announcing opening up the wait list on the very last week of May to invite you in. Now, this is a really intimate retreat. There's only going to be 8 spots available, and we're going to have like an entire support crew for you. I'm going to be there. Jeff, my right hand man, is going to be there. Jamira, who is like one of our marketing strategists, is going to be there. And we're going to have special guest Monica Bravo, who is going to be hosting individualized yoga and hypnotherapy sessions. So this is really going to be a transformative. We're going to have as much rest and relaxation and play as much as we're going to be doing the deep, transformative, revolutionary work so that you can show up totally totally authentically, how would you want to say, powerful and bare in your truth. So head on over to starpower.com/eclipse and get on that wait list. Okay, so let's talk about this eclipse that happens again on Friday, May 5th, 10:34 a.m. Pacific, 1:34 p.m. Eastern. A couple of weeks ago, I was recording a session with the one and only Colette Baron-Reed, and she invited me into her Oracle school as a guest, talking about the different lunations and asking questions of the universe. We pulled cards and we were having so much fun. But it was so funny because I was like, I'm sorry, Colette, I can't help it, but this is going to be a lot of potty mouth. And I really feel that this eclipse, and full disclosure right now, I'm going to be talking about a lot of potty mouth things. So just hold on to your horses and play with me a little bit. But because this is an eclipse, a full moon eclipse, and this is in Scorpio, which is really amplifying the Scorpio energy to let go, the theme that I have given this full moon eclipse is let fear go. Now, we know that fear, we can face our fears. Fears are really hard to let go. Sometimes we think that we've let them go and then we have to reface them again. But our fears really come down to toxic beliefs and stories. And so, if you can remember one question for this eclipse that you want to work through, during release ceremonies or however you work with the full moon, the question is, What toxic beliefs and stories will you release to reach your beautiful truth? Ah, yes, that truth and that vulnerability and that idea of like the bare naked truth, all Scorpio energies. Now, this is eclipses often happen in pairs. Well, eclipses happen in pairs. And back in 2020, we have them in triplicates, but we're not talking about 2020. We're talking about today, 2023. And so, in these eclipse pairs, this is our second eclipse of our eclipse season, a powerful red moon where the moon will pass through the outer shadow of the earth, casting a light red hue. So this isn't going to be like one of those dark red moons. It's going to be more on the lighter side. And if you happen to live in parts of Africa or Europe or Asia, Australia, parts of the southern parts of Polynesia, you'll definitely be able to see this powerful eclipse as the moon turns a shade of red. Now, again, potty mouth warning, but this eclipse is when you literally get to let go of all your shit. A deep cleanse. Like I'm sorry, again, maybe TMI, but you know that feeling of freedom and lightness in your body, like after you had some massive constipation and you go to the toilet and have like just a giant poop. It's that kind of feeling. Yes, visceral, spiritual, physical, and emotional. And imagine, just like remember, like how good things feel when we are able to let go. And so this eclipse is asking us to really look at this idea of decluttering versus hoarding. In fact, I'm actually recording this way later in the day and than I thought I was going to be, because I got derailed. Because when I sat at my desk, everything was dusty. There was like a spider in the corner. I had too many things going on, all these little pieces of paper, too many oracle decks on my desk, all this like notebooks and like other books. And I really just could not sit here anymore without doing a deep clean. So I took everything off my shelves. I wiped everything down. I only put back the things that I absolutely loved. And then now I have a box outside of my desk that I need to go bring to Goodwill later on to donate. All these things that don't bring me joy anymore. And so I did this with physical things, right? That's that kind of Taurian energy. And Scorpio is asking us, like, hey, we can start with those physical things, because all of these physical things give us like this emotional clutter. And with our Mercury retrograde at this midpoint of this Taurian season, it's super easy to like hold on to hoard, and to grasp for fear of not being enough. Right? It's second nature to hold on and to overconsume when we don't love ourselves, or when we're feeling not valuable, or when we're feeling any sense of lack. But then to let go means that we can make space to receive more of what is right for us. And so we had our Mercury retrograde midway point just a couple of days ago with Pluto. And oh my gosh, that like absolutely knocked me off my feet. I was like so tired. I felt like I was sick all over again. Like my body couldn't move. So I decided, oh, I'm going to go get a massage. And I've been to this masseuse before. I've had this exact same massage before. But when they let me go and I like walked out into the street to come back home, I was like really in this like confused daze. And I came home and I told my husband, like, I can't cook. I just have to go lay down. And I slept from about 5 p.m. in the evening all the way until like 7 a.m. the next morning. Just totally like, I guess my body just needed that rest. And Mercury retrograde midway point, along with that Pluto stepping on the brakes and going retrograde, I guess that was the energy that said, hey, Leslie, just like, boom, if you're not going to slow down, we're going to slow you down. And so when we add that extra layer of working with the intensity of this eclipse, along with, of course, Pluto, the eclipse ruler, stationary and adding more pressure, you get to pop all that toxic gunk that is built up in your emotional, spiritual, and physical spaces to create a sense of spacious peace, to love your body, and to feel abundant. Now, of course, when we're working with Scorpio, Scorpio wants us to go down and go deep, right? And so when we think about loving your body, and what Scorpio wants us to really look at is to see where you might be holding shame for your body. Now, I don't know any one of us that doesn't have shame about their body. So, to remove shame from your body is to notice when you start to contract your body, to tighten up, to close off. Where does it feel heavy? Maybe it feels heavy in your throat. Maybe it feels heavy in your heart. Maybe it feels heavy in your gut. What people, what experiences make you contract where you don't love your body? And what people make you love and appreciate your body? Of course, in this respect, to cut out the people that don't make you feel good in your body by noticing what areas of your body contract, and then surrounding yourself with people that make you feel expansive in your body, that make you love your body and feel free to take up space. So notice where you need to declutter and where you need to hoard in your physical spaces, your environment, in your body, and then of course in your spiritual emotional self. The next thing that I want you all to do is to figure out what to detox and let go. Okay, so similar to this decluttering and hoarding, this goes now another level deeper, right? Of when we think about detoxing, it means to remove things that are toxic for us. On an emotional and spiritual level, a detoxification means to remove the deepest, most taboo, most shameful, most guilt-inducing, most fear-invoking parts of yourself. Okay. Now, all of these are expressions of fear, the fear that gets in the way of our worthiness. But to let go and detox fear isn't to run away or hide from that fear. It isn't to rationalize or philosophize fear. It's absolutely to face the fear. Now, I mentioned in the very beginning of this podcast that I've had client upon client upon client, like more than a handful, to talk about over the last couple of weeks how they've come face to face with this idea of death and facing their truest fears. And it's been really, really eye-opening for me to kind of witness how this is happening for so many of us. So maybe this is happening to you too. But what was wonderful about being able to hold space and witness people with their fears was also to unravel and untie and to make space in all of these tight knots where we don't even know what we're running away from. Right. And so from me being able to hold space for my clients and work through these, I've come up with 4 steps for you to face your fears. Okay. Again, not to run away. Fear is not going to go away. Okay. And fear is there to protect us. So in order to face your fears and to unravel them so they don't have such a tight grip of you, is number 1, to recognize and accept that the fear is there. Okay. And to understand what that fear is. So when you recognize fear is that you're stopped in something. Maybe your reaction is to isolate. Maybe your reaction is to procrastinate. Maybe your reaction is to hide away. Maybe your reaction is to work until you're overly tired. Maybe your reaction is to close yourself off. Okay. Whatever your reaction to fear is, accept it. Be okay with it. Okay. For me, my reaction to fear is to run away. I am definitely conflict avoidant. And I've been sitting with that a lot lately. And I've been sharing that kind of concept with you as I'm getting ready to take even bigger steps in my business and my life, is how do I not run away from conflict, right? Running away is absolutely one of the ways that fear expresses, right? There's four ways that we get stuck in fear: freeze, flight, fawn, or fight, right? So what are those for you, right? Mine is freeze or flight. I'm like, or out of here. Maybe I know some people who love to fight about it. I know people that are absolutely people who fawn, right? Especially for people who have like more colonized mentalities or marginalized mentalities where it was a survival mechanism to fawn the person that was trying to oppress or overpower us, right? So freeze, fight, flight, or fawn. Recognize how you react to fear and accept it without judgment. This isn't about judgment. This is simply about recognition so that you can notice more quickly each time when you are in the grasp of fear. Now, the second thing to do after you recognize your fear is to get curious. What is this fear really about? Right? When I think about my conflict and like running away from conflict, for me, my fear is really about the fear of persecution. Right? Fear of persecution is in my blood. It is in my bones. And here, as I'm going out and being an astrologer, and if people don't really know what astrology is about, maybe people might think I'm a witch. Well, my mother is Jewish, so then I get all like the anti-Semitism that is out there. I'm Filipino. The Philippines have been colonized for 500 years, and so the less of an accent that you had, the better off that you would be. And so getting curious with what the fear is about is really going to show you how you're protecting yourself, essentially. And so again, so number one, to recognize what the fear is and accept it, recognize and accept. And the second, get curious what that fear is really about. So for example, this was really, really powerful when I was working with this client who had a near death experience. She went through this massive cycle of grief, like just while we were talking. And she started thinking about over her lifetime, all of the people that she lost. And one of the people that it started out with, the first person that came forward, and she was really surprised by the person that came forward with all the people that she lost, was a student of hers. One of her favorite students who was such an advocate, who had so much promise. And this one student was going to do all of these great things. And that when this student passed, my client wasn't able to experience her own grief because she was holding and supporting others who were grieving this loss of this student. But what we found out when we sat with the grief, and this person, I'll just say, like, wanted to run away, did not want to talk about this experience that she had, and was like, I'm okay, I'm gonna just be on my own, let's reschedule our call. And I wouldn't let her. I absolutely wouldn't let her isolate because I wanted her to go into what this fear was about. So when we got curious with that loss, with that grief, we found out that she was afraid of losing people because she had lost so many people in her lifetime. But what that grief was really about was the loss of potential and the loss of hope. That every time she lost somebody, there was a loss of potential and hope in a place, in a person, in an experience. And so getting curious with her about what that fear was about showed us that her dreams were popped because no longer was she going to have the potential of this person, the potential of an experience, the potential of a space, a place that she called home. And that what her fear was really about, was to lose hope. And so when we figured out, when we got curious what that fear was about, then we could step into that third place of fear, to grieve for what was lost as a result of the fear. Now, if you've ever lost somebody, or if you've ever like studied grief, you know that grief is an expression of love. And when we grieve what was lost that we loved. And so in that client story that I shared, where she was, we got curious and we decided that what she was really fearful about is losing hope, then we knew exactly what we were grieving for. Yes, we were grieving our student. Yes, we were grieving the family members. Yes, we were grieving old identities. Yes, we were grieving all these possible outcomes that we didn't get to experience. But not only were we grieving the things that we lost, we were also recognizing what we yearned for so much, what we really loved. And that was the gift of fear. Right. So when we realized that my client was grieving the loss of potential and hope, I asked her, well, how are you cultivating potential and hope in yourself? And believe it or not, of course, you're going to believe it, she fully recognized how she was not chasing her hope, how she was not cultivating her own potential, how she was not going after her own dreams and stuck in this place of fear. This kind of catch 22. She was afraid of losing hope, but she wasn't also cultivating hope. And so, this number 3 step of grieving for what was lost is the result of finding what you truly need to cultivate and create within yourself. And the 4th thing about facing our fears is then to thank the fear for protecting you from a belief, from a story, from actual harm, and reminding you that fear is no longer needed to protect you from this, and thanking fear for showing you what you truly love and need to cultivate in yourself. Okay, I hope you got me. Like, I was going all over the place with that. But your steps to facing your fear is to recognize and accept what fear is there for you and how it manifests in your life: freeze, flight, fight, or fawn, or combinations thereof. The second thing you want to do is get curious with that, what that fear is really about. Whose fear is it? Is it an ancestral fear? Is it a societal fear? Is it a fear from persecution in your actual life? And then number 3, grieve for what was lost as a result of that fear. Because in that grief, you uncover what you truly love. The grief shows you what you love, that thing that you need to cultivate in yourself and create in your life. So we thank the fear. The 4th step: thank the fear for protecting you, reminding you that sometimes this fear, we don't need it to protect us anymore, and for showing us the way to cultivate what we need in our lives. Whew, right? That's huge. Okay. So once we have these 4 steps to face your fear, then we have that antidote. Because once you realize what you lost because of your fear from this grief, you remind yourself again that grief is an expression of love. You recognize what you love, what you value, what you really desire to receive for your own fulfillment, so that you can cultivate and receive what you truly need. And of course, this isn't to expect someone else or an outside experience to give you what you need and desire. This is to remind you that you need to cultivate the very thing in yourself by prioritizing activities that allow you to go after what you truly want, instead of hiding away from that freeze of fear, right? Is to really prioritize and cultivate within yourself the very thing that you cannot bear to lose, that you truly love and value. That is your antidote to fear. And then this gets us to what you truly want. This now is what you measure that is of value, right? That Taurus Scorpio axis, again, is is value. It's money in the bank, it's alchemical gold. That Taurus Scorpio, when we can feel secure and trust in ourselves and our own values and our own worthiness, it shows us what we are here to measure. Right? If we don't really recognize our fear and we're still measuring ourselves to societal expectations, whether this be like body norms or bank accounts, all of those kinds of things are such like measures of conformity. We do not want to measure ourselves by the stick and fear of conformity. By understanding what we truly love and value, then we can understand what we are meant to measure. Right? So, this fear turned grief, turned love is what makes you feel fulfilled and satisfied. And when you feel fulfilled and satisfied, that is abundance. That is your truth. That is your bare, naked, beautiful truth that you are now free and liberated to receive, so that you can release everything that is not in that truth. Right? The people that pretend to be your friends, the obligations that you think that you should do, all of those things are just fear in disguise. And all of this by realizing, accepting, and facing your fears this powerful Scorpio eclipse. Okay. So this eclipse season, if you're going to do any kind of ritual, might I suggest a cord cutting ritual? Whether you use a symbolic or a physical knife, whether you use fire to burn the things that you're done with, and of course, fire, knives, using this in a responsible, safe way so that you're not hurting anybody, yourself included. Thinking about these energetic ties that we have to these stories, to these beliefs, to people, to expectations, and deciding once and for all to cut that cord. Scorpio, ruled by both Mars and Pluto, bring the claws out, cut them sharply and cleanly, figuratively. So 6 things you want to do this eclipse season for Scorpio eclipse, for things you want to think about cutting your cords to, is to release outdated stories and beliefs. Number 2, detoxify your inner and outer culture. Okay. What I mean by this is you probably have a lot of family expectations, cultural expectations, religious expectations that have both created an inner oppressor as well as an outer oppressor. See how you can clear those things up and really only allow the good in, your truth. Number 3 thing to do this Scorpio eclipse: cleanse your financial and physical clutter. Okay. Now, maybe you can't get all of this done at one time. Like I mentioned, I'm late to recording this podcast simply because I cleaned this little space that I have where the magic happens. And what I did was I created a list. I have all of these like little financial things on my back burner that never get done. I'm very ashamed of this, but I'll be transparent. I haven't done my taxes. I have to move some money between some investment accounts. I have to like let go of roll over old 401k accounts that have just been like absolutely stagnant and not making any growth because I haven't touched them. They're just like sitting on these accounts that are just collecting dust. I have to like move some things like for my mom's money that when she passed away, I still haven't done that. And so I wrote a list, and actually having a list of all the little things that have been taking all this energetic drain away. Like I've been holding all these things in my head that have just been like absolutely draining my energy. Now to have them in one place that I can just check off and make sure that I'm doing these all is really going to help me cleanse my own financial clutter. And of course, if you want to like empty out your closet, do some big spring cleaning, do that physical decluttering as well. Number 4, purge your emotional baggage and negativity. See where you're still holding on to and obsessing over things that people have said, like things that you think that people have done to you. Well, even if this, like, like relationship issues, parental issues, things that happened when you were a child, or all of those little things where that negativity is really that energy vampire that's actually sucking the energy out of you. A great way to think about all those emotional baggage things, cut those cords with those relationships, write down those feelings that you have that you want to be done with, and just purge them once and for all. Number 5, let go of toxic relationships and partnerships, whether this be in your personal life or your business life. Again, letting go of people, even, in your business, letting go of people, even if they're paying you, if they're toxic, if they make you feel that contraction in your body. Remember what your body feels like when you're in around people who are toxic. You don't need that. I promise you, when you let them go, you are going to make space for the people that are your people, the people that really belong in your life. And number 6 thing to do this Scorpio eclipse, embrace your vulnerability and authenticity without shame, without guilt. Right? Be vulnerably you. Share with people what your true desires are from this place of authenticity. And you know what? If people don't like it, guess what? They are not your people. I'm going to say that again and again. So may this Scorpio eclipse season allow you to do that deep dive and purge and detoxify, and, just all of just really get it all out of you so that you feel free. Now, the astrology of this eclipse, there's a couple of prompts that I want to give you, and I'll be sharing this on social media. So, I on my Instagram, we are now at B star powered, and my Instagram could use a little bit of love. I think that people, I don't know, for whatever reason, the algorithm is not showing my things, or I don't know, maybe my stuff's not very good anymore. I have no idea. Who knows, right? But if you happen to be online, find me at B Star Powered, and I'll have these eclipse prompts there for you online. So if you want to take a look and, are on the run and don't have time to write these things down, just head on over to Instagram at B Star Powered. So at the time of this eclipse, we will have a Taurus stellium with the North Node, Mercury retrograde, Sun, and Uranus all in Taurus. And that Taurus stellium is asking, what are you still hoarding because you don't feel worthy enough? Is it people? I know people who are hoarding like courses and classes, who are just like buying all these courses and classes because they don't trust in them. So especially if you have like a third house, ninth house activation, see if you're like hoarding information. Are you hoarding things? Are you overspending? Are you hoarding food? Are you hoarding exercise? Are you hoarding? What are you hoarding because you don't feel enough? Now that Pluto station retrograde, like Pluto is still will be stopped at that 0 degree Aquarius 22-minute mark. Pluto stationary retrograde asks, what fear do you need to face and detoxify? So take a look at where that Pluto of 0 degrees is. What house is it in? Is it in the 8th house, the 9th house? What house is it in? That's going to give you a little bit of insight as to the fear that you need to face and detoxify. That client that I told you that had all of that coming face to face with her own mortality, well, that Pluto station retrograde is happening right on her 0 degree sun. So she needs to face the fears of herself and her own potential. Hello. Okay. Then Venus square Neptune. So Venus and Neptune are so beautiful and so brilliant, so such soft energies. And so this is giving a little bit of softness to this otherwise kind of potent eclipse. And Venus and Neptune, all about connection on this physical plane, connection on this spiritual plane. And they're asking, what is your beautiful truth alchemized from your fear? Right? How can you connect to your beautiful truth as you turn your fear over? And how can you give yourself your beautiful truth with compassion, self-love, self-compassion, right? So this is connecting to your beautiful truth, cultivating within yourself, giving to yourself the one thing that you desire. Remember, the outside world cannot give you what you want. You have to give yourself what you want. All right, my friend, this was a kind of a long episode all about the eclipse, but I hope you have the tools to be able to really face what holds you back and that you get to intentionally work with gratitude this eclipse in Scorpio so that you can finally let go, release, and detoxify the beliefs and stories that hold you back from your beautiful truth. All right, my friends, let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear. Talk to you soon. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.